All right, guys. Good afternoon. It is 12:50 in the afternoon on Thursday, August 11th, 2022. I actually did already a high noon highlights earlier today. I just got done with it, but I just realized that I had my audio input on mute, so it didn't record not a damn thing on my voice. So I'm just redoing it right now. It was a shorter episode to begin with. It was only like 30 minutes long to begin with today. Today was mostly me looking over the indicators, looking over data. So I'm just going to run it all again. So that you guys have a recording of this. Okay, so we earlier in the day today we had the PPI report come out, which is the producer price index. The CPI came out yesterday, which is the consumer price index. It's a little bit more backwards looking than the PPI, and so the Fed does prefer to use the PPI, but the PPI also came in lower than expected as well too. All right. Today, I believe it came out at 0.2 month over month, which is about 5.8% year over year. And so previously it was at 0.3 and 6.4, 0.3 month over month and 6.4 yearly. So we are starting to see a deceleration of producer prices as well too. Generally, that also leads to a lower CPI. So the markets took that a little bit took it very favorably. But we'll see if that continues. Okay. Already, if you look at bonds, like for example, if you look at TLT, it is selling off. Earlier in the day, they did pop on the news. It comes out at around 8:30 or so. So it did pop up on the news, but then it just kind of goes down, right? So we're also seeing that in some of the lower expirations as well too. Or I'm sorry, the lower time frames. We saw it go up. In anticipation of that, and it stayed up, and then now selling off at the end of the day. Same thing, kind of the same story when it comes to equities. Equities started off really strong today, and now they're cooling off a bit. Actually, speaking of equities, I wanted to go over today, some of my mistakes. Not only do I share with you my victories, I also share with you my mistakes. And I was reviewing some of our old checkmate trading high noon highlights videos. And in the end of June, all right, around here or so, I told you guys that I was going to short at these levels right here. Okay, once it gets to this 4,200, 4,300 zone around, what is this, 42 of, I said I was going to scale in here at around 4240 all the way up to around 4300. That's what I said I was going to scale into, okay? That's what I said at the end of June. But what happened? I started scaling into other indices earlier, right? I didn't stick to my plan. And this goes back to, the things that we talked about a few days ago. Remember, I went over the things I wish somebody would have told me when I first started trading. Yes, I wish somebody would have told me, stick to your plan. Make a plan, be disciplined. Stick to your plan and have the patience to wait for your levels and the discipline to go through with your plan. And what did I do? I exercised no patience and I exercised no discipline, and I got in way too early. Okay, we had a perfect entry right here. Look, I mean, of course, hindsight's 2020. Of course, we never knew. It could have easily had gone down here, right? But already, remember how we were seeing the internal data improving? When we saw those junk bonds AAD line going up like that, what we should have done was gotten a lot more patient. Okay, that's what we should have gotten, more cautious, but we didn't. I jumped the gun, and I keep telling you guys, this trading is really a battle that happens in the gray matter between your ears. It's all in your head. That management of your emotions, that capital, that mental capital management. Okay, is just as important as your money management. All right. At least for me, I told myself all these stories and tried to get myself into puts. I scaled in way too early. I should have waited for this level. That was a level that we drew and we knew about back in June. We should have saw the signs. I reviewed the data with you guys every day, and I still like completely missed it. Okay. It was right there in front of us. It was saying it right clearly, but again, it's the stories in my own head that won. So I did, I did scale in a little bit too early. However, at least I did have a foresight of knowing that this time it could be a little bit different. So I did keep my position sizes small. It's not like here. Around here, oh, I went big. I went real big. I put about 50% of my spec account into puts and paid out really well. Here, right now, I'm max at around 8% right now. Before yesterday, it was like only 5% invested in my spec account. But then my puts, my QQQ puts, is I put about 3% into that. So that's my biggest spread right now, is my QQQ spread. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It is giving up a lot of its gains from earlier. Let's see what the other ones are doing. Dow Jones also giving up a lot of its gains. We're seeing a lot of gains coming from XLF with the 10 and 2 year spread going up a bit for the last 2 sessions. And whenever that happens, usually XLF will have a relief rally at that point. IWM, small caps, very strong. We should have saw this coming too with the advanced decline line and the high-low line going up. Whenever those go up, that's very supportive of small cap stocks. And also, too, we already saw S&P 500 ES. So right now, the strongest looks like Dow and IWM, and the weakest one looks like it's tech for today. Okay, we saw a lot of call chasing actually in the last couple of days. Remember a couple of days ago I went over the meme stock thing. Bed Bath and Beyond. What do you call it? GameStop, AMC. They all had these huge runs to the upside. The catalyst being, I think, Bed Bath & Beyond. They ousted their CEO after a bad report. And then, of course, the Reddit army got involved, and they started buying all the meme stocks back up, right? AMC, all that. How BBBY CEO goes out of office and how that correlates to AMC and GameStop, hey, that's beyond me. But that seemed to have caused some animal spirits even amongst the large cap tech stocks. Yesterday and the day before, we saw a large number of call buying, net call buying, QQQ, SPY, IWM, Amazon, Apple, all these tech names, all the sentiment driven names, lots of call buying. I posted some of those pictures on our Discord on those calls bought versus sold. We're seeing a little bit of an opposite of that now. In the morning, I did also put in that Apple was still continuing that call chasing. Now it's kind of evened out. We're seeing some of those calls. There's still some buying in calls, but now there's some more even distribution. There's also calls being sold. Probably some people yesterday taking profit, and then new fools entering in. And we saw, I think, a lot of market makers dump some shares as some of those deltas decayed. Speaking of market makers, it looks like after yesterday's CPI report, the VIX just collapsed yesterday. Okay, if you notice, VIX collapsed yesterday, and that was a big sign that that hedgers cashed in their hedges. They literally just cashed in their hedges yesterday, and the market makers had to dump their short positions to even out their books. All right, and that's what we saw yesterday. So we saw a combination of call buying, a combination of hedge cashing, a combination of market makers also getting rid of their short positions to even out their books. So we saw massive buying yesterday, and that's kind of it kind of continued into this morning. But now we're seeing some of those gains being pared back. At least the morning's gains. Yesterday's gains are still fully intact in most trades. We'll see if that continues or not. Some of our bond market signals. Oh, before I get into the bond market, gasoline. So I don't know what it is, but every time the politicians, they focus on gasoline prices, gasoline goes up. It seems to be a thing, I guess. It is now, gasoline for the first time closed over its 18-day moving average yesterday, and now it's going above that. It even this morning, actually not too long ago, it even retested its 18-day moving average and popped up above that. Is gasoline going to go up? The reason why I'm tracking gasoline prices is because I think it may be a leading indicator for our inflation expectation. If you look at the CPI report, a lot of the losses, a lot of the slowing down of inflation came from gasoline prices. All right, gasoline prices fell, and that kind of evened out some of the increases in other things. Food still went up, rent still went up, wages still went up. Cost of labor is still keep going up. But what is bringing down that inflation number is mostly in energy, all right, and commodity prices and gasoline, all right. So if you look at this blue line, solid line is the gasoline futures, all right, and the candle chart is the TIP-TLT, which is our inflation indicator. Peak inflation, remember, guys, we were able to call it right here. Okay, we called it. CPI is backwards looking. It looks back 2 or 3 months. TIP-TLT, inflation-protected treasuries divided by long-term treasury ETF, that's forward looking. This is where the money is anticipating where inflation will go. Okay? It curved up. It curved up with gasoline prices. And it's been tracking gasoline actually very well since end of 2021. It's been tracking it very, very well. Okay? So, if gasoline prices keep going up, is TIP-TLT going to go up and inflation expectation goes up? Maybe bond investors think that if gasoline goes up now, the October-November report might come out as a more, with higher inflation than expected. What if? Okay, I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm just anticipating of what could be based on what I see. All right, so I will be adding gasoline futures to our indicator list. All right. Speaking of indicators, we got another. We had that bond trade that I mentioned to you guys. The long TLT at 112 or so. It is approaching that. It's at 115 right now. And we're actually starting to see yields creeping back up. Okay. I may, now that I think about it, I may cancel that 112 order if this keeps going up. If I see that this makes a new high, which it is today it's going to make a newer high. So if it closes around here, if this closes here, and not only that, if TNX, if TNX also makes a new higher high, which I believe it is it right now? It is making a new higher high. Yeah, it's barely, but it is making a new higher high right now. So if TNX and this chart makes a new higher high, I may not do that. I may not get involved in TLT long trade, okay? Because it may be a couple of months until this really manifests itself and goes up, and then maybe it turns back down again, okay? So I will be canceling my TLT trade. I think so. I'm not going to put that as part of the plan anymore. And I'll go over that at the very end as well. All right. The 30-year, 10-year, if you look at the 30-year and 10-year right now, we are seeing it go up. Although I said anything under 4.4 is noise, really. Okay. It really has to go above that to really to have this, recession obsession over. Is if we really have to break above that 0.4 and keep going up. It's already actually losing some of its gain, actually. Oh, wait, the 30-year Treasury auction just happened. Let's actually see what happened right now. Let's see. Did the numbers come out yet? I'm just taking a look. 30-year. Yes, it did come out. The 30-year bond auction did come out. It's at the yield came out at 3.106%. Previously, it was at 3.115. So we are seeing some demand in long yield. Okay, not by much though. Not by much. So that one was not as strong as the 10-year auction. So we will see. So they might be. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, but that is kind of in line. It's very, very similar to what we saw last month. So no big changes based on what I see in a 30-year auction. Okay. It's keeping on coming down. We'll see what happens at the end of the day. 10 and 2 year. This is why XLF is going up. It's having a little relief rally because of this bounce in the 10 and 2. If this continues down, though, I do expect XLF to be one of the weaker sectors. But we'll see. We'll see. It's still negative, though. It's still negative. All right. IVE, the growth versus value, still in an uptrend. If you are going long, go long on growth names because that will outperform. Okay, it looks like. All right, unless this falls. If this falls, then yeah, we might see a rotation back into value. But right now, it's not giving us that signal. All right. Euro charts. Let's take a look at some of these assets in Euro charts. RTY is back to its March highs. Interesting if you price it in euros. If you price the S&P 500 in euros, yes, we're almost at all-time highs. Okay, we're almost at all-time highs when you price the S&P 500 in euros. Not so much though for the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq still has some ways to go. The reason why I shared with you guys these Euro charts is because it seems as if the market, as the dollar keeps coming down, the market, it priced in dollars, is just catching up to whatever's priced in euros. All right. Oh wow, look at this. The Dow basically touched its all-time highs when it priced to euros. Huh. That's interesting. Okay. So if the dollar keeps dropping, all right, if the dollar just keeps dropping, we could see the dollar-denominated charts look more and more like the euro charts if the dollar keeps dropping, all right? That's why the dollar has been one of our leading indicators, since when we first started, since earlier this year. Actually, I've been using the dollar as an indicator since around January, February or so. All right, but it's been a very good leading indicator. As long as this keeps going up, there's going to be a dash for cash. But if it breaks down, and especially if it breaks down under that 103 kind of zone, right around here, 103.420, right here. If it breaks under that 103.420, the dollar index, I mean, we're going to the moon with the indexes. We're going. I mean, nothing will stop this. We're going back to all-time highs if this drops below that. Okay, I don't think the Fed wants this drop under that this level. Okay, if this drops below here, it just reduces Fed credibility. All right, Fed is going to lose all Fed is going to lose all credibility if it drops here. If it drops here, if the dollar drops beyond that point, and then the markets just keep going up, that's just it just basically reverses all that jazz that we went through the past 6-7 months. It just reduces that to nothing. All right. And they'll have to start at square one again. And most likely inflation will roar back, within months if that happens. So I don't think that's what the Fed wants to do. Okay. They will try to talk up the dollar once we approach this. All right. That's just my opinion, of course. It may not happen. Trying to predict what the Fed is trying to do and betting money on it is a fool's game. So we shall see. Okay, we shall see. Eurozone, euros. I think this is the opposite of the dollar. If this keeps going up, that's going to be risk on. All right, this keeps going down, risk off. All right. That's just what I see. Oh wow, look at that! I didn't notice this before. Australian dollar, huge increase. All right. What's going on with FXI? Is FXI going up too? Yep, FXI up. are the metals going up? Oh, yeah. Oh. Gold, gold, gold. Okay, a little bit more muted response, but gold already has made a large up move starting from a couple of weeks ago. What about uranium? Yep, uranium getting supported from this move, as is, I'm sure, oh yeah, of course, XME. Okay, so yeah, so Australian dollar generally is a very good indicator of those metals, gold, uranium, as well as China. Okay, so all of them are responding favorably to this. All right. But yeah, so the important thing, guys, is, right now I'm just in a wait and see mode with my puts. I have about 8% of my money now invested. 8% of my spec account is in those puts or risk off spreads. Luckily, I did keep them small, but still, a loss is a loss. And again, I shared with you guys kind of my mistake in entering in sooner. And again, you can check back our end of June tapes on High Noon Highlights. I literally said we should be patient, all right, on one of those episodes. I literally said that, and I drew this line, and I said, we're not going to buy puts until we get here. Well, we're there now, but of course, I FOMO'd into those puts here, or like a bozo, okay? I didn't have the patience and the discipline to follow through with my plan, and instead, I let the stories get to my head, and my mistake was I got into those puts too early. We had a great opportunity to get into those puts today, and if I just stayed put and done nothing and got into those puts today, that would have been a lot better. All right. So even for me, every trader has this. Trading is the real battle is what happens in the gray matter between your ears. All right. It's all up in your head. All right. Financial capital management is very important, but also your mental capital management is just as important. Okay. Your emotional management, your management of your emotions. We are human after all. All right, and so that is something that most people do not focus on, is that aspect of trading. But that aspect of trading is what causes most people to fail. There's a lot of smart people who fail at trading. Why is that? They're smart. Well, because generally smart people also have usually issues with confidence. They have issues with telling themselves a story. The stories that they tell themselves are usually right. But what if they're not right, All it takes is one wrong trade to wipe your account out, to end your trading career, all right? And that's what we're trying to avoid, all right? In order to avoid that, you have to stop telling yourself these stories, all right? So if this move continues up and we start closing above these levels next week, I might have to start managing my put positions, okay? So that's just what I see so far. And then we'll also get into cryptos. One thing that I noticed in cryptos, lots of block purchases happening, lots of block buying. We're going back into the March contracts now. People are buying some huge spreads. We're actually seeing some debit call spreads. We saw 10,000 spreads of the 4,000, 5,000 debit calls. So somebody bought the 4,000 and sold the 5,000 calls. They spent about $600 and something thousand on that trade, and they're trying to make 1,000 out of that. So, what is that? They're trying to make 15 times what they put in. Yeesh. That's a huge payout if they win that one. There's also some smaller spreads here. About a couple of hours earlier, before that, somebody spent about $220,000 on the 3,500, 4,000 call vertical spreads. It looks like I reviewed a few of these pages. I didn't see any other any trades with the same timestamps on those. Yeah, so I think those are vertical call spreads. So somebody's very bullish on the March contracts, and we're seeing that. A lot of premium being bought on the call side. Very similar to what we saw in the retail trade yesterday. Retail traders coming in, buying call options on Apple, GME, GameStop, meme stocks, all that, and tech stocks. But here we're seeing more block trades and calls being bought. Now, that doesn't mean they're right, though, okay? That does not mean that they're right. somebody in the Discord earlier in the earlier recording mentioned that the merge happening, puts buying pressure on Ethereum. Much like in Bitcoin, the miners have to sell their Bitcoins after they mine it. So there's always this constant selling pressure in Bitcoin. He was saying that with the staking process and with the merge happening, that there's going to be buying pressure for people, for the people accumulating ETH for staking. So that's maybe we're seeing some type of anticipation for that. And he also mentioned that too, that the merge test or one of the big merge events was happening on that week of the September 18th, September 19th, which actually coincides with the monthly options expirations for S&P 500. So it seems like a lot of risk assets are having big moments in that month. So that should be a very interesting month. We're having the largest monthly options expiration in S&P 500 that month. We're also having a large options expiration in Ethereum, and we're also having this merge in Ethereum. So a lot of things are happening in that month. It should be very exciting for us. We're probably going to start planning on that OpEx probably in the next week or two. We're probably going to start planning for that. So stay tuned, and we will go through all that with you. All right. Any questions, comments, rude remarks, anything else you guys want to go over? Okay, then. In that case, we're getting to the end of this recording. And as always, I like to go over the indicators, my current trade plan, and also my current positions. So first off, let's start with our indicators, okay? First things first, the dollar, okay? Everything moves with the dollar, all right? Dollar is just key right now. If it falls, risk on. If it goes up, risk off, okay? If dollar really starts tanking down, expect all the indices to just keep going way up. Okay, we're going to the moon. All right, we're going back to all-time highs. If this breaks, okay, it has to break this. All right, this 103.8 or so, this 103.8, 103.7 or so on the dollar index. All right, so keep an eye on that. ZF, which is a 5-year Treasury bond futures. If this keeps going down, that's an incentive for people to dash to cash. So that will be a risk-off sentiment. If this goes up, it breaks up, then there will be an incentive to get rid of dollars and buy risk assets. So we'll see what happens to that. HYG teetering between gain or loss for the day. This is a good indicator of what's going on with junk bond liquidity. Generally, we see junk bonds, having sustained moves first before equities. Generally, that's where we get the very good risk on or risk off sentiment. As we've noticed in our own junk bonds AD line, we have been noticing more advances than declines for the past few weeks, all right? So ever since here in July, we've been seeing more advances than declines, okay, since the beginning of July, all right? This was the tell. We should have listened to this a little bit more, but that was the tell, and it still keeps going up. So we'll see. Does it curve back down? Does it not? We'll see. If it busts above this level, though, that's very bullish. Okay, if it busts over this end of May, early June level, that's going to be super bullish for risk assets. All right, so keep an eye on that. All right, some of our other indicators, again, what I'm adding now to our indicator list is, we've always used TIP, TLT, of course, the inflation protected treasuries over long-term bonds as an inflation indicator. This has been a very good forward indicator for inflation. We call the peak in inflation here, but I think gasoline front runs this TIP, TLT. So an early indicator of an early indicator. Gasoline, though, is coming up. It is over its 18-day moving average. We are seeing some momentum now shifting in gasoline. Starting to see a lot more buy orders coming in. Is that a seasonal bottom right here for gasoline? I have no idea. Okay, I'm not trying to tell the future here. I'm trying to anticipate what could be. But if this keeps going up, I imagine TIP TLT will go up, and maybe we have those inflation scares come back into the market again. Because one of the biggest drivers of that lower CPI report 2 days ago was lower gasoline prices. So if gasoline starts coming up, is the October, November reading going to have a higher than expected inflation? Right? So if that happens, I'm sure that maybe the inflation trade comes back. Who knows? I don't know. Let's monitor this, okay? So one of our leading indicators that I'm looking at, all right? And as always, been looking at this high-low line. This high-low line look at this. It's now busted above its 4-day EMA. It's working on today getting above its 9-day EMA. Right now it's at 53. And the cumulative line, if 53 gets added to this, we are going to close over the 9-day EMA on this high-low cumulative line if the high-low closes at 50. If it closes actually anything over 18 or over 19, it will close over it, okay? So we shall see. It needs to pass also its 20-day moving average as well. Okay, then that's a very big buy the dip signal. On the next pullback, that's the mother of all buy the dips. Okay, we haven't seen that yet. It's not that until it is. Okay, so we haven't seen that signal yet, but it is starting to set up. Okay, so we shall see what happens. Okay. Don't act on this yet, all right? We need a little bit more time. It's going to take maybe a couple of weeks at least. If it goes up, if it keeps going up, it will take a couple of weeks to show, all right? So we shall see, okay? What other things am I looking at? What other trades? Meat trade, PPC, I'm still looking to buy at that 29.30. Speaking of meats, Tyson is no longer in my plan. But whoever did buy yesterday, congratulations. I mean, what a response. I think medium term, though, it's still going up, but it didn't have the setup that I wanted, so I did not enter, okay? But whoever did enter, congratulations. I know some of you took that trade, but I am not in it. I'm going to be waiting for PPC, Pilgrim's Pride, though. One trade that I will not be doing anymore that I said I would, I'm not going to go ahead with it anymore now that what I see is the TLT trade. I am not doing that anymore. I'm not getting long on TLT anymore because it looks like TNX is going to make a higher high, and so is this. Our copper and gold indicator, our copper over gold indicator has been a very good indicator of where the 10-year will go. And the original thesis was, this ratio is coming down, the 10-year will catch up. Now, though, both TNX and our copper gold indicator is making higher highs. So now I'm not very comfortable going long on TLT anymore. Okay, I'm not very comfortable with that. I'm no longer doing that. So canceling the TLT trade. I am not doing that anymore. Okay, out of the plan. All right, back to stocks. Hut. They just had earnings, 33% increase in revenue. Oh my God, will I ever get to my buy level? I should have chased. Remember MSC? We were talking about chasing at 170. Should have done it. Man, we should have done it. But if it gets the 165, 150 zone, I will buy as much as I can. But we'll see if it gets there. Ethereum, on that note, Ethereum, I still plan on, you know what, I'm going to start scaling in around 1,200 or so. TradingView keeps actually erasing my lines, but, Bitcoin gold ratio, the Bitcoin gold ratio, when it gets to that level, our red line level, that's where I will enter into some Bitcoins as well. Right here, that red line right there. All right, if it gets there, I will buy. Okay, so definitely then we would have to see a big sell-off in order for us to see that. Possible. I don't know if it's likely anymore. Yeah, so TradingView got rid of my ETH line, but the ETH line, it was around like 0.6 right here. Okay, it was like a red line that went right there. You're 0.6. If you look at the Ethereum denominated in dollars, if you draw, there's actually a similar red line that you could draw, and that coincides with around 1200. So I might start legging in around 1200 if the ratio also, the ETH to gold ratio also gets to around 0.6. So that's still a part of my plan, okay? But I think that's going to coincide to around 1200 or so on ETH, denominated in dollars, okay? So take a look at that. I'll try to draw that chart and update that. So that's on the crypto space. Ford. Oh my God, I love this stock. More and more. The more I do research on this, but will we see that 1380? If it goes down to 1380 or so, I'm buying. I'm buying a lots of this. Okay, I love Ford. Okay. SPY, still same buying program. I'll buy if it gets to that 361. I mean, if right at this point, if I'll start buying long-term shares at 361 or so. I will buy even more if it gets to that second line right here, 342. Well, now it's at around 345, and then if it gets under 345, under that line, I will start buying in the money call options 1 year out on SPY. I am not gonna be buying any more puts on indices. That's it. I'm not gonna be adding more to it. I have my positions. It is what it is. Either they succeed or I'll have to start managing them in the coming weeks. Okay. So let's go over what I have. Dow Jones Industrial Average. I am still long on the on my puts. Same thing. I haven't really changed anything, guys. So I'm just repeating myself. 300, 290, okay? Still in the same October put verticals. EWT, which is Taiwan, still in the same spreads. Nothing has changed. I'm still in the Decembers. 49.40, long the 49, short the 40, 49.40 put debit spreads, verticals. And FEZ, which is Europe, I'm still in that. Nothing has changed. Still in the Novembers. 32.27, long the 32, short to 27. What is it? HUT, still in shares, and I'm short the $5 strike calls in January. Feeling the heat on those calls, but we'll see on the next pullback. I'll get rid of them. I'll cover IWM. I'm still in those November and October put verticals for 180, 170, long the 180, short 170 for both strikes. That's IWM. And then QQQ. QQQ, I'm still in the 305, 295. This is my biggest spread. Again, I told you guys I'm 92% cash, 8% in these spreads. I was only 5% invested in my spec account, but yesterday I added 3% right into this. So this is by far my biggest spread, is my QQQ spread, okay? And then, of course, I got the UVXY with Contango. It's bleeding because of Contango. I'm still in the 14.24, long the 14, short to 24, and also the 15.20 call vertical debit spreads, long the 15, short to 20. So that is my positions. So that concludes this High Noon Highlights. That's all my positions, trades that I'm about to take, and my indicators. Any questions, comments, rude remarks? This is your time. Going once, going twice. All right, sold. Okay, then that concludes today. I will leave our Twitch stream up as always, so you can take a look at the charts and data that I'm looking at throughout the day. I'll try to be back on later this afternoon after I run some errands. And if I take any trades, if I see any compelling signals, I'll share it with you guys as always. If you're joining us from Twitch and from our Twitch and YouTube streams, visit our Discord. We have conversations like this around the clock. And thanks for being with us, and thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.